Almost 9 minutes of pure bliss, followed by 51 nail-biting minutes of shenanigans. Can the offense show up for a full game to help out the Magnificent Seven? We preview the Cowboys next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Hey Packers fans, this is your unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, and these are the podcasters you're looking for. One of these guys was once a club DJ in a country saloon, and the other guy gave up his seats on the 20-yard line so 12,000 more fans could enjoy the game live. And now it's time to Go Pack Go with your hosts, Wayne Henderson and Troy Heinritz.
Did we mention that this is the Packers Fan Podcast, the show by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers? Oh, we did. Good. Just checking. We want to hear from you. Give our feedback hotline voicemail a call at area code 920-3PACK-GO, which is 920-372-2546 if you're that numeric kind of Packers fan. You can also just simply visit PackersFanPodcast.com/feedback to be part of the show. Let your voice be heard. This is episode 114 of your Packers Fan Podcast, and tonight is October 11th, 2016. And with it being the 114th edition, all the intel and analysis from this episode can be found at PackersFanPodcast.com/you got it 114.
On this episode, we're going to be going over what we liked and didn't like from our victory over the New York Giants. You'd be surprised how much there is to not like. Discuss proper fan conduct as being part of Packer Nation, and also the latest on the injury front.
Plus, your fellow Packers Fan Podcast listeners chime in with some great thoughts that we're going to share with you later on. We're going to go over the keys to the Cowboys at Packers game. And as always, we have our wild guesses of what we think the final score for the Cowboys at Packers matchup are going to be. With all that being said, I am just very thankful that the Pack is still winning. I'm Matt Wayne Henderson, your voice acting, podcasting part owner of the Packers.
At least the defense is. And I am Matt Troy Heinritz, fresh off my trip to heaven. No, Iowa. No, wait. Lambeau Field. Yes. Ready to tell you all the things you didn't see on Sunday night. The Packers Fan Podcast is available on demand and on the go with our free Packers Fan Podcast apps for iOS and Android, presented by theticketking.com. Remember, you're not sold out until the king is sold out. Get Packers tickets at the best prices by visiting PackersFanPodcast.com/tickets for all the details.
That sounds like a great plan. Now, my main highlight from the game was the fact that it was a victory. A win is a win, even though it was nerve-wracking at times. Do you agree?
Yes, a win is a win, but the defense can only win so many football games. And right now they have won 2 of the 3 that are on our win column. We need to figure out a way for the offense to do exactly what they did in 8 minutes and 42 seconds, almost 9 minutes of pure offensive perfection to open up the game. It was marvelous being able to see that executed perfectly in real time, live at Lambeau Field on Sunday night. But then it just kind of was all over the map again for the offense, and I don't understand what's going on. So defense, way to step it up. A lot of rookies coming up and a lot of second-string players going in for the cornerback positions because, again, no Sam Shields. Morgan Burnett was back, but Randall was out too. So we had a lot of people trying to pick up the slack in the secondary, and they did a fantastic job covering Beckham all night.
And it was great to see, even though I was not there in person like you and 70-something thousand of your closest friends were, it was great to see Eddie Lacy just running like a machine, at least for the first half. And then, that ankle again. But, man, what did it look that great in person to see Eddie Lacy just bowling over people?
I believe people from the ESPN crew would be more like, because he's breaking through all those blocks. Oh, my gosh, it was awesome to see him moving that way.
Love it.
I think this is his best start, too. Somebody had mentioned on our Twitter account that this was like the best start that Eddie has had in the first 3 home games since becoming a Packer, and I think that is fantastic news. We really need to make sure we can keep him motivated, keep him moving. I want to see more of this Eddie Lacy.
Yes, because that alone will help us win a lot more games and, of course, keep the defenses honest, not knowing what to expect.
And the thing that is going to be weird to see is, can Eddie actually recover from this ankle injury? From my perspective, where I'm sitting, section 122, row 45, seats 1, 2, and 3 on the 42-yard line, I can see everything on the Packers bench from where I'm sitting. And I saw Eddie sitting there up there on the table. They wrapped that ankle like you wouldn't believe, trying to get the swelling down. They taped it like nobody's ever taped an ankle before. There was a lot of tape on that ankle. And he was walking on the sideline after probably about the fourth quarter or so. He was walking back and forth. So at least he's able to put some weight on it. We'll have to see how his situation is day to day throughout the course of the week. But yeah, we need him because we got some other issues beyond that for running back if he's not able to go.
Absolutely. And of course, we're at home for the next 2 games, but at the same time, that's 2 home games in like a stretch of 5 days. So.
Well, and that could be a good thing, right? Because the Bears are just that pathetic. So if we can get past the Cowboys, we beat the Bears at home, pick up 2 more wins, and then we get another 10-day rest again. So I think that'll be helpful to get us pumped and ready to go for the final half of the season. I'm excited to see how that scheduling plays out and if that plays in our favor.
Absolutely. But I guess 1 game at a time, right?
Yes, because we're going to need the defense to get some rest because, man, that magnificent front 7, oh my goodness. These guys eat up running backs like they eat pancakes for breakfast.
Yeah, nobody has proven that they can even come close to running against our defense, which is something I don't think we've been able to say for at least a decade.
I know, and this has been really fun to watch. I think, the team stats for that game was they had under 50 yards rushing, if memory serves me right. Yeah, 43 yards rushing on the night for an average of 2.9. I mean, that is just super impressive. So if we can keep that up, that would be fan-freaking-tastic. And only 219 total yards of offense for the New York Football Giants. Not very giant in any way, shape, or form.
Sorry, Eli and the gang. It just was not meant to be. And you mentioned earlier, Troy, rookies and second stringers really stepping up. How about that beautiful sack? I believe it was by Fackrell, and then the fumble recovery from the Inland Empire's own Kenny Clark, making his rookie presence felt big time in this game.
That was such a huge play because we had just gotten the ball back with 1:57 to go in the half, and then Rodgers literally throws 3 passes into the ground and ruins our perfect 2-minute drill opportunity to get the ball then immediately back because of that fumble. Was fantastic music. Just really, really exciting times.
And as if the Lambeau faithful weren't already lit up and ready to go. And I could hear them chanting on the TV, "Go Pack, go," before the kickoff even happened.
Oh, it was fantastic being there. It just echoes now inside of 81,000 potential seats. It was attendance of plus 79,000 on Sunday night. That is a lot of freaking people in one place.
Yeah, even though a few Giants fans snuck in, obviously they are far outnumbered by Packers faithful. And when that fumble happened, did the place just go nuts?
Oh, absolutely freaking nuts, because everybody was still in their seats waiting to see what was going to happen before heading to the snack bar.
Yeah, one last big piece of action, and then Aaron threw those 3 passes into the ground, which I guess is the official signal to hit the restrooms, the snack bar, and everything else.
Yeah, and this is where we'll get into some of the lowlights eventually with Aaron Rodgers. But the offensive line, these guys, if you would see how much these guys are working and holding off the pass rush, they are phenomenal in what they're able to do, because Rodgers is literally holding onto the ball 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds. And these guys are not giving up. They're keeping their blocks. It was amazing to see how much time Rodgers had to literally throw the ball on Sunday night. So kudos to the offensive line, because not only are they doing pass protection, but they're also opening up the running game for Eddie Lacy. 140 plus yards on the ground, 4.6 yards average per carry. That is a front 5 that is really doing some fantastic things.
And it's been many years since we've been able to say such great things about our offensive line. It's so good.
And a shout out to the receivers too. We ragged on them last year about separation and getting open, and people were figuring things out. That first 9-minute drive, we saw the offense of old from like 2011. Timed passes. Rodgers was getting rid of the ball in less than 2.5 seconds. That is the Rodgers we need to see out on the field, because that was absolute perfection, hitting Devontae in stride. Randall Cobb had an amazing game. Jordy picking up passes off the ground for that touchdown.
Yes.
All three of the top receivers did one hell of a job on Sunday night.
Beautiful. But I guess it wasn't all roses.
It definitely wasn't all roses, and it definitely wasn't all punts either, because
yeah, what I saw some frustration coming out of some of your messages. What exactly happened with Jacob Shum this week?
He caught the ball off the snap. He turned the ball sideways. He re-stitched up the football, and then he decided to kick it straight up into the air. So it literally went nowhere. And then the other time when he kicked it straight like a line drive. Like, I think he was playing baseball instead of football.
Oh my.
The guy's terrible. He's unbelievably terrible. I would have rather had Mass Day at this point.
Wow. Have we heard any rumblings at all as to why we let the holder of the year, that rookie we were trying out, why we let him go?
No doubt. Granted, he might not have been the most awesome kicker, but at least he's a hometown hero. He's going to do everything he can to make sure his team succeeds, because it's his team. He literally grew up watching the Packers. Put him on the field and let's see what he can do, because Shum right now is not the guy. He's no better than Mass Day, if not worse at this point. And when we have our defense, who is literally winning the ball games for us, we cannot have field position be an issue, because that will tire out the defense. So we have to make sure the punters can pin back the offenses so that our defense can come in there, hold 3 and out real easily, and then we get better field position for the little part of things that the offense is able to do until Aaron holds onto the ball for half an hour.
Which is interesting, because he has such a lightning quick release, Aaron Rodgers, and yet the offensive line is giving him all kinds of time. And maybe, it's great to have him safe and upright, but maybe Aaron's taking too long. I know you've got some thoughts that you looked up that kind of described what might be happening here.
Yeah, when you look at AR12's performance over the last 2 seasons, it is clear that he is trying to make things happen. It's almost as if he is running the offense from the line of scrimmage. Instead of executing the plays that are already drawn up and already ready to go, he's changing everything to be a scramble on the run, which is fun. We love that when he extends plays, because he makes things happen. Well, when you're used to seeing Aaron Rodgers scramble and make plays and extend plays, your receivers are covered and receivers aren't open, and that's why we're seeing him hang onto the ball. When he executed that 8-minute plus drive in that first quarter, it was literally 2.5 seconds or less. He held the ball, hit people in stride, moved the chains. It was absolutely fantastic. And so when you get that kind of rhythm where you get the ball out very quickly, Pro Football Focus actually describes the passing as in rhythm. It's measured by the time it takes a quarterback to throw the ball. So they computed that Rodgers had 19 throws within 2.5 seconds, and he completed 12 of these with a passer rating of 103.2 over this season. And because of the blocking of the offensive line, he has forever to throw the ball. But when you actually look at the 29 of his throws that came after 2.5 seconds, with many of them coming on 4 or 5 seconds after the snap, those throws, Rodgers only completes 13 of the 29 with a miserable passer rating of 40.9.
Whoa, I had no idea it was quite that low.
It's brutal. It is literally brutal. 1, 2, 3, get rid of the ball. And if he's not getting rid of the ball by 3 seconds, we're in trouble. And that's literally what the offenses look like since after we went to the Kansas City game last year.
Now, with a quarterback of the elite caliber of Aaron Rodgers, how do you convince him to change his ways a little bit?
That's a question for Mike McCarthy. I don't know what you can say to him. I'm pretty sure Aaron figures that out. He'll see stuff like this and he should correct it. The flashes of brilliance of the offense are there. Run Lacey, 2 plays in a row, throw the football, whatever you got to do. We're converting third downs. That 9-minute drive was fantastic. There wasn't a bad thing about that opening drive. It was pure perfection. And why we can't do that on a regular basis, especially in a team that's as weak as the Giants, what are we going to do when we have to face like Arizona or Minnesota again? These are things that we have to solve now before we get too deep into the season.
Yeah, because we have to make sure we are ready when we are in this year's Super Bowl playing a very dangerous AFC team. But I know, again, one game at a time.
But this is it, right? This is the year that we should be able to win the whole thing. And if we don't win it this year, it's going to be starting to pick apart the team over the next couple of years because of where everybody's kind of shaken out from an age perspective.
Exactly.
We need to make it happen this year, and we have all of the talent to make it happen. We just need to put 2 and 2 together.
And speaking of talent, number 2 running back, James Starks, great guy, great rusher. But what was going on this week?
I have no idea. I'm going to pull the Wayne Henderson card and say he had the flu.
Well, it is going around.
I mean, can't catch the ball, fumbling the ball after he catches it. His head was not in the game on Sunday night. I honestly have no idea. This was the guy who was the leading yards from scrimmage person on the team last year, and he just looked pathetic. And that makes me really nervous going into the Cowboys game if Lacey can't go, because our number 3 quarterback isn't any better because Crockett's on the IR. So we need to figure out what we're going to do. I mean, CJ Spiller was in town and we passed on him. I think we need to go out and see if there's some running backs that we can pick up because I'm nervous at this point.
I think we have every right to be nervous. I'm just thankful that we're at home. I mean, that does help a little bit. And the Cowboys, I'm still not all that convinced, that Dak Prescott and the rest of them, it'll all play out Sunday afternoon, but we'll see.
No, I absolutely loved seeing the wishbone a lot there on Sunday night. And I think if we run the wishbone, I think that has some potentials for Starks to actually get some yards because Ripkowski was fantastic in the fullback spot. And we just need to make sure we're following our blockers and hitting the holes like we're supposed to. And we should be fine because the offensive line is making the holes. The running backs are just choosing not to hit them at this point.
Okay. Well, we will know in just a few days. And I can't wait. We're in this great stretch, Troy, where the Packers are on television every week. And I know later on when one of the games happens and they're not being shown nationwide, it's going to be a bit of a bummer. But I mean, Sunday night. And then, of course, this week, most of America is going to see this game, and many other countries are.
Well, they absolutely should because America's team is playing.
That's right. The Green Bay Packers are playing, and there are people that like to watch the Cowboys. So it's going to be a big game. And, our number 2 fan base for the listeners and probably the Packers in the UK, they ought to be getting this game as well. And then, of course, a few days later on Thursday when we wear our color rush, a.k.a. away jerseys, at home playing the Bears. So that's another nationwide game to see. So lots are happening, and I'm just glad we're at home while we try to work out these running back issues and injuries.
Yeah, and speaking of injuries, looking past Eddie Lacy, still have Demarius Randall with the groin. He's going to be day-to-day, so keep an eye on him. Sam Shields still out with the concussion. I don't know if Sam's going to be back anytime soon this season, to be quite honest. So hopefully those secondary D-backs can step up like they did this week because, man, we're going to need it against the Cowboys. Jared Cook still out with the ankle. Latroy Guion still out with the knee.
Wow.
Corey Lindsley can come back in 2 weeks. Cross fingers. Dayton Jones is week to week now. The good thing, though, is that I don't know if you remember, but we already have a Magnificent 7, and we're going to be making it a Magnificent 9 soon with Demetri Goodson coming back and Mike Pennell coming back to that D-line. Man, with Pennell out there, we're going to have some fun on defense, let me tell you.
I can't wait to see it. And the fact that, and we talked about last week that the guy's on suspension week 5, I guess that actually, they meant to say game 5. I don't know. But,
right.
But it said week 5, so we were overly optimistic.
That's okay. We're all good with that.
Yeah, a win is a win. And you, of course, were at the game this past week, and you posted this beautiful looking photo on Twitter from the stands where you were sitting at Lambeau Field the other night.
I absolutely did. And you could actually be sitting in that seat with me if you become a Packers Fan Podcast Patreon supporter at the Reggie White number 92 level. That's right. Patreon helps us grow the show. It helps us bring more content to you each and every week, but you get rewards too. So make sure you check out all the different levels by visiting PackersFanPodcast.com/support. Think about it this way. When I went to the game this weekend, it was literally $8 for a beer. $8. All we're asking for you to do is pony up $1 to $5, maybe even $10 a month. If you're getting any enjoyment from the show at all, go ahead, throw us a 5 spot each month. It's like going to the vending machine one time a week. Go ahead and throw that our way and buy us a Kit Kat. That would be fantastic. So go over to PackersFanPodcast.com/support. Again, there's even that chance to go to a game at Lambeau Field with me next year. Again, PackersFanPodcast.com/support for all the details, because we like to do live post-game call-in shows with all of you and more. So make that happen, please.
That would be fantastic. And some of the other Packers Fan Podcast listeners, they did chime in this past week after the game. On Facebook, Victoria Don Lejeune said, great game. A couple of scary moments with injuries, though, but all in all, great game, and we won. The Giants were not at all like I had heard. Go, Pack, go.
Yeah, they're like baby Giants.
Baby Giants from New York. And Lofia also on Facebook said, bruised but not broken. Go, Pack, go, and ended with the 100.
You know it. So, again, the things that were really good about the game on Sunday were really, really good. And the things that were bad aren't bad. They're correctable, and we just need to correct them.
Right. In fact, some of the things that were quote-unquote bad about the Packers this past week, there's a few teams in the NFL that would do anything to have something at that level.
This
Browns.
is very true. Very true.
Bears.
Browns indeed. Bears. Oh, my gosh. On Twitter, Monica said, is it fair to call this team the winning ugly Packers?
I don't know. What say you?
Well, I mean, the defense is playing fantastic football, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily winning ugly, but it's going to get old really fast when you have as much weaponry as we have on the offense. So we need to make sure the offense is scoring the points. We need to be Detroit every single week, 31-3, 31-10 by halftime, and then cruise into a nice 42-something by the end of the fourth quarter. I think is right where we need to be.
Yeah, hopefully they don't flip it the other way around and play, kind of choppy and sloppy for the first half and then give us heart failure and then come back from behind every single week and win. But as long as there's the win, right, the end result's the same. And
that's for sure.
Also on Twitter, Timothy Evans, who's at Timothy Evans, I think the Lambeau Field faithful need to start a new Aaron Ripkowski chant of RIP.
No.
No?
We tried to get it going in the stands. It didn't quite work.
Oh, it probably just takes practice, because Travis replied to that on Twitter. That's what I was saying before the season started. And Eric on Twitter said it would be even more appropriate for Wisconsin if we chanted all 3 syllables.
And that's what we were saying in the stands too. We were like, R.I.P., R.I.P. And we're like, wait, does that mean someone's dead?
Oh, no. And Tim responded to it all since he started it on Twitter. I'm good with that.
You see, it'd be fun if Ripkowski played some defense, because then R.I.P. would be great when he sacks somebody.
Oh, let's give McCarthy a call and see if he might change things up.
We love hearing from all of you guys. Again, PackersFanPodcast.com/Facebook and on Twitter at PackersFanPod. Make sure we hear from you on game day. We want to know all the things that you love about the Green Bay Packers and how things are going.
And our voicemail is always ready for you at area code 920-3-PACK-GO.
3-PACK-GO indeed. But before you enjoy anything having to do with the Green Bay Packers, before you even think about calling yourself a Packer fan, we have this public service announcement for you. Sometimes being a football fan, especially one in Wisconsin, can be a little bit zealous. And sometimes people take it a little bit too far, as evidenced by a recent incident. This is from Michael Rand of the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, because they got this story that a Packers fan allegedly stabbed a Vikings fan 7 times on Sunday following Minnesota's 31-13 win over the Texans. We're not even playing the Vikings, and people are getting stabbed. What is up with that, people?
That does not sound right.
David Marshall of Stoughton, Wisconsin, confronted a 21-year-old man who was vandalizing an inflatable Viking in Moshelle's yard. The fight that followed resulted in Marshall being stabbed on multiple occasions with a box cutter. This is where it gets crazy. So it really could have been worse for the attacker, because luckily Marshall didn't have his concealed carry on him at the time.
Oh my.
Marshall said that 99% of the time I leave the house, I never leave without it. And this is the one time that I left the house without it. I'm kind of glad I did, because that guy would have been dead, and I would have had to have lived with that. This is crazy, people. If you want to be a football fan, understand it is a game. It is a sport. We are here to cheer the green and gold of the Green Bay Packers. We're here to throw little quick dibs like the Bears, things like that. But it's verbal. It's not physical. We don't beat people up. We don't stab people. Just enjoy the football game. So please, if you see a Minnesota fan or a Chicago fan, just tell them, hey, thanks for playing a good game. And thanks for being part of the division, because we love kicking your butt every year when it's able to be done. And that's what we love about the rivalry. Rivalries are rivalries because it's good to talk smack. It's not good to actually use physical weapons against each other. So please, please, please just respect everybody in the NFC North, because that's where football started in the first place.
Absolutely. And if this is true that the perpetrator really was a fan of the Green Bay Packers, it's disgraceful, because that's not how, like you said, any sports fan should be, let alone a Green Bay Packers fan. I mean, unfortunately, this type of thing happens quite often involving Raiders fans, Chargers fans, and sometimes like when the Giants play the Dodgers and Angels and things like that. But this is the first time in my life I've ever heard of it involving fans of NFC North teams. And, being from Southern California, the times I've been to Wisconsin and Illinois, the football fans, even though there's that friendly rivalry, everybody is basically very nice people there in the Midwest. I love it. And so this is just shocking. So, yeah.
Now, I'm going to just go on the record and say, I have a phobia of inflatables, so you might see me destroying your inflatable in your yard, but it's not because I hate Christmas or I hate Halloween or I hate the Vikings. It's literally just because I hate inflatables.
That's a very good point. And maybe that's what started it all. Especially what if, with all this clown business going on, which I don't even understand. I think it's just a promotional stunt for the upcoming movie, It. But what if it's a giant inflatable clown? Would it be too scary to even think about attacking?
I would be running away in the other direction.
Better safe than sorry, I suppose. Now,
with that, let's go into our weekly Twitter poll, Wayne. How do we do?
Let's do. In fact, we kept it simple this week because of all these home games. Basically, I put out there, will the Cowboys pose a bigger threat to the Packers than the Giants did? And 75% of the fans say yes, the Cowboys will be a bigger problem for the Packers than the Giants were. But 25%, obviously with just two questions, that's the easy percentage, said no. So, Troy, I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I mean, the Cowboys are definitely a better team. And the Giants have, and we talked about it in our 5 keys to the game against the Giants. And we actually came through with all 5 of those things, right? Contain Odell Beckham, own time of possession, get Lacey involved and run the ball. It was fantastic all across the board. And that's what led to a victory. But at the same time, the Giants could have been that much worse had the Magnificent Seven not shown up. So if we can have the Magnificent Seven show up this week, I think we'll still be in good shape. But the offense does need to produce points this week because the Cowboys, they're on a roll right now.
Yeah, and although the Packers did win and the Giants did lose, Odell Beckham, he kind of had his head on straight. He even made nice with the kicker's net for all the terrible things he did a few weeks ago. Oh, so some quick NFC North notes. The Vikings, since they did not have their bye just yet, they are 5-0. And, of course, Vikings fans are talking Super Bowl, but let's put the brakes on until and if they even make the playoffs. How many times have the Vikings started 5-0 over the past couple decades, and they always choke? I mean, that sounds strong, but how many Super Bowl trophies do Minnesota have after starting 5-0?
Not many.
None. So that settles it. Stay tuned. We'll see what happens. The Packers are 3-1.
And that's how you throw smack without a box cutter, people. Just saying.
Exactly. The Packers 3-1 with flashes of brilliance. The rest of this home stretch, I think, will be very beneficial to get us back on the right track. Now, the Lions, they're 2-3, and I don't know about you, Troy, but I just can't figure them out.
Did you see that Matthew Stafford broke Dan Marino's record? I can't remember which one it was exactly, but it was something about the most yards per attempt or something like that.
Really?
In his first 100 games or something of that nature. I have to look up the thing exactly, but I know he broke some record of Marino's.
Wow.
Which just tells you how good Matthew Stafford is. That guy is on fire, yet all of his yards come between the 20s.
Yeah, him and Phillip Rivers from the Chargers.
Oh, man, I feel so bad for Phillip Rivers this week.
The excellent quarterbacks, but man, if they were just on different teams, it makes such a difference. And the Bears, well, they're 1-4, and wow, 1-4.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting when they come to Lambeau. Their record speaks for how ugly things are going with that team right now. But since we get to wear on Color Rush Week our away jerseys, basically, what on earth are the Bears going to be forced to wearing?
They're going to be wearing Jay Cutler because he's sitting on the sideline not playing.
Oh, my.
That was the best thing I saw against the Colts on Sunday. I was waiting to go to the game, and we were watching the Bears a little bit, and it was, oh, look, there's Jay Cutler, not in the game. Shocker, shocker. Play my 3 games that I'm required to by contract, and then I sit out the rest of the season.
Oh, my.
All right. Well, Lambeau Field, once again, partly cloudy, 66 degrees for the high with a 20% chance of rain. Not so much wind this week, about 10 miles an hour. It's going to be fantastic to be up there. Once again, green package this weekend, so all you Brown County, Appleton, Fox River Valley people can go up and watch the game without those Milwaukee people ruining the fun. Now, keys to the game. Number 1 this week. Number 1. 3 words. Stop the run. That is the number 1 thing to shut down the Dallas Cowboys. Ezekiel Elliott's dash and dart moves are in the offense, literally the entire offense, and what makes the Cowboys shine right now. So our Magnificent 7 only has got to get better this week, so that should be an easy task. Green Bay has allowed only 171 rushing yards to date, and the Cowboys have totaled 776 rushing yards over 5 games. That's averaging 155.2 yards per contest. So the running game is no joke in Cowboy Nation. So we need to make sure that we come up and be prepared to shut that thing down.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a true test. If we can bring them down all the way with our Magnificent 7, that will be bragging rights big time.
Number 2, protect AR-12. Doesn't go without saying, the offensive line has been doing a fantastic job of that for all 400 seconds that Aaron holds the ball. The Dallas is going to be pushing him around quite a bit. Rodgers is entering the match with an 87.7 quarterback rating, which so far is a career low. Career low, people. He has 9 touchdowns against 3 picks, and he has completion percentage of 56.1%, which is, guess what? Another career low. It's bad. AR-12 is not having a good year this year, and I have him as my fantasy person, so for what that's worth. Now, the secondary is led by former first-rounder Morris Claiborne, and he can pick off those errant throws that Aaron was making all throughout the Giants game. So make sure that we keep an eye on Morris Claiborne where he's on the field, because he could be dangerous against AR-12. Now, number 3, Dak Prescott is a mobile quarterback, kind of like our old Russell Wilson nightmares. So when they actually get Ezekiel running on the Cowboys, you can see some option plays going on that Dak could actually escape. So containment is going to be key. We need to keep a spy on Prescott most of the game in order to make sure that he stays in the pocket. And number 4, cornerback Brandon Carr and safety Brian Jones have played well for Dallas, but they're not perfect. So Aaron absolutely needs to exploit these matchups in the passing game if he wants to have success on Sunday afternoon. And last but not least, we need to run the ball. Stop the run, run the ball. Stop the run, run the ball. This will be a challenge now, given Lacey's status. We'll have to wait and see what his production could be this week, if at all. So we need to make sure that we can do everything we can to get Starks moving in this game, feed the ball open, and that will open up the passing lanes for Rodgers. And those are your 5 keys to the game against the Dallas Cowboys.
I love those, Troy. And like you said, last week, the 5 keys to the game, the Packers fulfilled those. And guess what? We came back with a victory.
Amen, indeed.
So let's do it again, Packers. Let's do it. The Packers did release their official dope sheet on this game. And just some of the things that stuck out with me. And you, of course, can see the entire dope sheet. We'll have it linked in our show notes at PackersFanPodcast.com/114. But basically, the Packers will host the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday afternoon. It's like, a 3:25 start, Wisconsin time, Central Time Zone?
Yeah, I think we're the only game on TV at that time.
Green Bay is 17-16 against Dallas overall, but we have won 5 straight over the Cowboys, including the last matchup in Week 14 of last season, which we won 28-7. And the Packers are 11-4 against Dallas at home during the regular and postseason, including wins in each of the last 4 games. So
you want to know? You want to know what's sad?
There's something sad about that?
Of those 4 losses, I was at 2 of them.
Oh, that is sad. What are the odds? Sorry, Troy.
I'm never going to a Dallas game ever again.
That's pretty wise advice. Just watch those on TV. That will help ensure a victory for our Packers.
Exactly.
The Packers have won 6 of the last 7 against the Cowboys at Lambeau Field, including the postseason, scoring more than 40 points in 3 of those victories.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Mike McCarthy overall is 115, 63, and 1. Of course, like we said, his 11th NFL season. Jason Garrett, I can't believe time is flying by. He is in his 7th NFL season as a head coach. He is 50-45. Now, head-to-head, though, McCarthy wins this one 4-0 against Jason Garrett.
I don't like those stats.
In which way?
Anytime you say 4-0, that just means the loss is around the corner.
Maybe in 10, 15 years, something like that. We'll see.
All right.
And, of course, some of the news of note regarding this, of course, these 2 teams squared off in one of the most famous games in NFL history, the 1967 NFL Championship, a.k.a. the Ice Bowl. Of course, the temperature is not going to be this cold this week, but back then it was recorded at -13 Fahrenheit at kickoff and -46 Fahrenheit with a wind chill. The coldest game in NFL annals. And Bart Starr's game-winning TD, we've all seen it a million times, and it never gets old. A 1-yard dive with 13 seconds left, which sealed Green Bay's 3rd straight championship en route to its 2nd consecutive Super Bowl title. And it's interesting to note, that was one of the times we three-peated, and back in the 20s we three-peated. No other NFL team that I know of has ever three-peated, and we've done it twice, Troy.
Whoop, whoop.
Go, Pack, go. And some interesting things, man. There's a lot of Texas tie-ins with the Packers. Our executive VP, general manager, and director of football operations, Ted Thompson, is from Atlanta, Texas, about 175 miles east of Dallas. Also,
I had to read that twice. I was like, Atlanta? What?
Texas?
Atlanta, Texas. It's a city. Got it.
Who would have thought? Chris Banjo from Sugar Land, Texas. Mason Crosby from Georgetown, Texas. Brett Good from Pampa, Texas, and Dimitri Goodson's from Spring, Texas. And of course, we all know that wide receiver Ty Montgomery is from Dallas, Texas, and we've got fullback Aaron Ripkowski from Dayton, Texas. That's a lot of Texans.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Rip! And again, read all the goodness in the official Packers dope sheet for the Giants at Packers game at PackersFanPodcast.com/114.
Well, with that, crazy game predictions. I was pretty close last week. I had 28-17. You had 31-9. For a while there, I thought you were actually going to come away with it with 2 scores, but
me too.
They weren't able to squeak it out. So unfortunately, I think that makes me the winner this week. So I will pick first. I think this is going to be a nail biter. I'm going to say Cowboys 21, Packers. Man.
Give us some points, Troy. Give us some points.
27. Cowboys 21, Packers 27.
Wow,
That's a win.
That is a win, and I am happy to hear you predict a win. That is a bit of a nail biter. I mean, when you're talking the Packers, 6 points. Woo.
That means whoever gets the ball last wins the game.
Well, we'll make sure that's the guys wearing green and gold. Although
the last 2 times, it's helpful.
It's very, very helpful indeed. And although I would like to see us have one of those games that we mentioned in the dope sheet where the Packers score more than 40 points on the Cowboys, after this week's game, my excitement's tempered just a little bit. I do predict we're going to win the game. Packers 20.
That's not a surprise.
No, it's really not. I'm going to give the Packers one more point than you, Troy. Packers 28, Cowboys only 18. But
that's a little bit more of a breathing room.
Yeah, but 10 points in my book is still a nail biter. Until we're up by
what are we gonna do?
22 points or more, I'm never turning away.
That's right. Got to be up 42-10, so you can leave at the start of the fourth quarter, drive to Appleton, and still make it to the bar by the 2-minute warning.
That's still unbelievable that can happen, but I guess that's Wisconsin, and you beat the traffic.
That's right, we did. Just before we get out of here, I want to give a quick shout out to my beer man, Kelly. He was awesome on Sunday night. Even got a picture with Kelly. We'll post that up on the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook page over there, packersfanpodcast.com/Facebook. Kept us hydrated all night long. Super fun conversations. Absolutely great time. Thanks so much, Kelly, for making it fun. And also want to say to my guys behind me, that's right, Dan Robleski, I'm so pumped to come back in November and hang out with you guys. That was so much fun. So, Dan, here's your shout out. Thanks so much for making the game interesting and having the crew with you. So look forward to seeing you against the Colts come November.
Wow, that'll be here before you know it.
Ditto indeed. All right. The Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast is not affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers.
No?
However, even though I am a season ticket holder for the gold package, it'd be great if we could make that happen so we could be on the field instead of in the stands. Let somebody know to contact us at media@PackersFanPodcast.com. And don't forget to become one of those Packers Fan Podcast faithful. Come sit in a seat next to me. If you sponsor the Reggie White level, that's the number 92 level, make sure you check it out over at PackersFanPodcast.com/support so you can make the podcast even better.
And although you've probably upgraded from a flip phone to a smartphone, have you got the free Packers Fan Podcast app for your iOS or Android phone? If not, get it. Totally free. It's presented by theticketking.com. Don't get sold out of your next Packers game. Visit PackersFanPodcast.com/tickets for all the details on that. And all season long, it's going to be a long, fruitful season. Follow us on Twitter at PackersFanPod and follow me on Twitter. I'm at Wayne Henderson.
And me, I'm at Troy Heinrichs. Be sure to like us on Facebook as well. Just visit PackersFanPodcast.com/Facebook to join the community.
And as we keep these links going, PackersFanPodcast.com/whatever, be sure to add /feedback at the end to let us know what you thought about the game, and we'll share it on the next episode of the podcast. Keep the conversations going online. We'll be back again after this very hopeful victory over the Cowboys as we get ready for the Bears. But until then, just thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to listen to us here on the Packers Fan Podcast.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes so you don't miss an episode, and leave us a review as well to support the podcast. Give us a call at 920-3PACK-GO with your thoughts after the Cowboys game, because we need to remind everybody down there in Dallas, Texas, who America's team really is. That's right, it's the green and gold of the Green Bay Packers. So let's hear you say it loud and proud now with a Go Pack Go!